Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. I am Chicago Bears beat reporter Michael Dwojak here with the Northwest Herald's Joe Aguilar as we are joining you guys on Monday afternoon. We've got a second straight day of a podcast for you folks as we are still talking about the Bears' big win over the Green Bay Packers in their wild card game. We also know that the Bears are going to be playing the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday. We'll still wait to see what time that is all going to be taking place, but it all seems like it's going to be a really fun environment, a really fun atmosphere as we get things going here. I think we lost Joe to kind of start things off here. So I'll try to do this a little bit solo here before we kind of move forward. But a really fun game. We are joined this afternoon by Ben Johnson and a couple of the players at Hallis Hall. They kind of had a couple days to, talk a couple days after what happened after a dramatic win. Robert chiming in from across the pond. Great to hear from you, Robert. Michael waiting for the fourth quarter before turning up. Yeah, it was a crazy game. It was definitely something that, still a couple of days. I think the players and the coaches are still trying to figure out what happened, how they were able to, kind of make it all work and make it all happen. But yeah, we heard from Drew Dahlman today and Tremaine Edmonds, and they both kind of talked about how, it's still kind of hard to process what kind of happened, right? I mean, how do you kind of process one of the crazier games that you've ever been involved in? And it was still fun for a lot of the guys. Drew obviously and Tremaine are both kind of also realistic of the fact that now they have to move on and play the Los Angeles Rams here, which is going to be a really tough matchup moving forward in the divisional round on Sunday. But it was really great atmosphere. The guys were still buzzing a little bit a couple of days later. Ben was still, talking about it. But it was a great atmosphere, a lot of fun. And now we kind of move forward a little bit here, so we know that the Bears are going to be playing the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday at Soldier Field in the divisional round. That's going to take place after the Rams beat the Panthers on Saturday in the wild card, and the 49ers beat the Eagles on Sunday afternoon. So the Seahawks get to play the 49ers here since they're the number 6 seed, and that's how the Bears ended up with playing the Rams as the number 5 seed, coming to play the Bears, the number 2 seed. It should be a lot of fun. It'll be just a few times that the Bears have played against the Rams. Obviously, I know a lot of Bears fans. They know that the last time that they played against the Los Angeles Rams was obviously the 1985 championship season. It was obviously a great run where I think the Bears shut them out 24-0. So a really cool environment there to be a part of. And now the Bears will get a chance to play against them a second time around. Just a really great, really good rivalry going on here, and we'll see what things kind of look forward here moving forward. But like I said, we'll see what that all kind of looks forward to. I'm going to try to bring Joe back in here after he had some connectivity issues. Hey, Joe, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Can you?
We got you. We got you. I had my 4-minute monologue
here because that's rough on your eyes, but
yeah, everyone had to listen to my 4-minute monologue here a little bit as we kind of work through some technical difficulties here. But Joe, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
You're all good. All right. Well, we did a 4-minute monologue here on just, the whole situation. The Bears are going to be playing the Rams. I was talking a little bit earlier, Joe, about how the players were still, kind of still in shock and awe about what the heck just happened. Obviously a couple of days later, obviously also just moving forward to Sunday's game against the Rams. But Joe, what were your, what are your still reactions a couple of days later? I know we talked yesterday about the whole game, but with with the day to just kind of review stuff, look at some other tweets and other information. What did you kind of gain from, in the 24 hours since we last talked about what happened on Saturday?
That 4th and 8 throw, people are talking about like best throw in Bears history. I mean, we can stop with the hyperbole. Unless you've been a fan for like 2 years. I mean, I'm old enough to remember the 85 Bears, and there were a lot of great throws there. I mean, I know I'm not downplaying anything Caleb did. And granted, if that pass is incomplete, the ball game's pretty much over. But I mean, but this is what we do. We overreact. We like to put superlatives on everything. But that said, I mean, I've been hearing more about that throw in particular, nationally, locally, on social media, than anything. And it was spectacular. But like any Bears game, there was bad and there was good. That certainly was good. But there had to be a lot of other plays to be made and some missteps by the other team for it all to come to fruition as far as a Bears victory. So, but that's been my take. It's just been a lot of Caleb, that 4th and 8 throw. And, we'll see that for a few thousand more times before we die.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely one of the better throws. I don't know if it's one of the best throws. Definitely the best throw, I feel like, of Caleb's career. I saw the whole jump man thing to Michael Jordan and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, that's fun to do on the internet, but it is also fun, I'm sure, for Bears fans to actually have a legit franchise quarterback who can make those types of throws and has a modern quarterback as opposed to maybe what we've been used to here for the 6-year history of the Chicago Bears. All right, now that we got a conversation going on here, I can say thank you to everyone who's joining us here on the YouTube live stream. Appreciate you guys joining us on Monday afternoon. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe while you're there. If you're on Facebook, I see all the likes and loves. Thank you so much. You guys can also comment and send your questions through the comments. We'll see those and try to answer those as well. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, thank you so much for doing that there. You can also make sure you subscribe and rate us. That's the best way to support the podcast and to help it grow. Robert, we already heard from Robert, about the fourth quarter comeback. He's still saying that he's still shook from it. Imagine what we can do when we actually play well. I think that's a fair reaction. And Robert, he doesn't think it's an overreaction. What past Bears quarterback could have made that throw in that situation? And I think that's a fair, obviously you don't want to get into the different eras and that kind of stuff. And obviously I was not alive when Jim McMahon was the quarterback of the Bears. So I can't really, other than like from old videos and that kind of stuff, I can't really make the comparison. I guess fairly. I will say, the quarterback of the 80s is the quarterback of the 2020s are very different from the quarterback of the 1980s, Joe.
Well, that's it. I mean, look, back then, no one went for it on fourth down either, unless you were in a desperate situation. So I don't know. I mean, Jim McMahon, if you're asking me, did Jim McMahon have that kind of arm strength? No, he didn't. But look, Eric Kramer had a really good season. I'm not going to take anything away from what Caleb did. But it's just the typical hyperbole of what we do as fans, as media. Sometimes the media more than the fans, honestly. But it was a great throw. But I think the highlights you'll see more so in the future, short term and long term, are the throw to DJ Moore to put him ahead, the throw for that one that DJ in overtime at Soldier Field to win it, the one to Jade Walker, and that same Green Bay game at Soldier Field. So those kind of throws. But the 4th and 8, I mean, all the talk is like, who else in the league could make that throw today? I mean, you're basically talking big arm guys who have the flair for dramatic. And then you're talking the Mahomes, the Josh Allens, those kind of guys. Justin Herbert can make throws like that. He didn't make many last night. That team, that Chargers team, what you talk about a bad looking offense with the, that bad offensive line they have there, a lot of injuries to first round picks.
Well, that goes to show you how, I don't know if it's lucky, but that goes to show you what happens when you lose both your starting tackles, right? Like that, you could be in that situation at this part of the year.
Yes, and that's it. It's a lot of times, especially in this sport, it's a battle of what's the word, Rackle? Fruition, right? Just staying healthy, and a lot of times you're out because you've got key injuries. See Green Bay and Micah Parsons. So the Bears haven't had that unless you want to count Io Dobengo, that kind of thing. But they pretty much have who they want on the football field with a few exceptions.
Robert, pleading with you one more time. Come on, Joe, join the hyperbole bus, please. Obviously, have yes. All right. Let's talk. We got a chance to hear from Ben Johnson today and a couple of the players, like I mentioned earlier. And I wanted to hit on a couple of the things. These Monday shows are always, it's kind of fun that we can do this after the presser, so we can kind of talk about some of the stuff that they talked about before we give you like a loose look ahead to the Rams here. Obviously, we'll do our whole preview show on Friday like we normally do. But obviously, the biggest thing that is talking about hyperbole that is kind of going viral on social media has obviously been the Ben Johnson comments about the Green Bay Packers. That obviously came during the a good, better, best chant video. He starts the video obviously with F the Packers. A lot of people have gotten upset about that. You've seen Dick Vitale voice his opinion about that. A lot of Packers fans are upset about that. Ben was asked about that a couple times. One time about the rivalry, he said this is a rivalry, and for the city of Chicago, Green Bay, it needs to be a rivalry. Later on, he was also asked about, the video and, did ownership get upset about it? And, Ben said, there's a rivalry that exists between these two teams, something that I fully recognize and I'm a part of. And yeah, I don't like that team so much, or I don't like that team. So George and I have talked and we're on the same page. And I think we hit on this a little bit yesterday, Joe, but I'm still surprised that they kind of kept for a team that, the understanding has been a couple years ago that the Bears got rid of all the swear words and all that kind of stuff and Hard Knocks. And, they kind of wanted to paint this make-believe, training camp where somehow no one in August in extreme heat is swearing at anyone or upset at anyone. It is like a perfect land, right? To go from that to this, where you've got the head coach saying F the Packers. And, like Ben said, he talked to George McCaskey. George McCaskey doesn't have a problem with it. We obviously know how much he hates the Packers. And it to me just kind of feels like, I don't know, like this is sports. Like, I don't know, like this is when sports is fun. This is rivalries. Like you want the rivalry to be like this. Like, it's not like Ben Johnson went out there and said, I want Matt LaFleur gone. I hate him. Like, I want him dead. Like, none of that stuff. It's just like, I hate the Packers. Like, F the Packers. Like, it's a rivalry. It's a sports rivalry. Like, I think if you understand all that in the context, it's just kind of like, okay, like who cares? Like, this is what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah. First of all, by the way, battle of attrition, Joseph, was the word I was looking for. Anyway, personally, Michael, I'm not a fan of the F the Packers. Keep it classy. Look, okay. If you ever played golf with me, Michael, I'm not the choir boy either on the golf course when I miss a 3-foot putt or hit one into the trees, back-to-back shots. So that said, I understand the power of profanity, and the F word is maybe the strongest word in the English vocabulary, right? We can agree on that. I just think, look. And then, George, even that whole thing getting back to his introductory press conference, Ben Johnson, with I like beating Matt twice a year. I enjoyed that. It's like, to me, that sounded like George. It's like, and I want to beat the Packers as a Bears fan because they're better than the Bears, because they have one more Super Bowl than the Bears. More, right? Or more. They won the first two, and then they got, Favre and Rodgers each has one. Beat them because they're in your division. I'm not one of these guys like, hey, we go 2-15 as long as we beat the Packers twice. I'm fine. No, win the division, win playoff games, win a dang Super Bowl again. Let that be your motivation. I'm all for look, the Packers are going to trash talk. Let them be classy. The old act, you score, act like you've done it before. So I know, look, profanity, kids today, my daughter, who she's a great kid, she's swearing, all her friends swear, where does this come from? It's just the generation. I hate to sound like old man, get off my porch guy, but my goodness, Ben, keep it clean, man. Keep it classy, because let's enjoy this and act like we're the better football team. And it's not just about Packers rivalry. Bears should get up for every game. And I get it. Like, it's a different environment. It's a different mindset when you play the Packers. I mean, when you got, 63,000 people screaming, whatever seats that Soldier Field on, they squeeze everybody in. It's different. If you don't feel the energy, you're not alive. But I just wish he'd keep it a little classier and just show respect. And hey, man, you won the football game. That's all that matters.
Yeah, listen, I get that perspective, but it's also kind of like, I think it's not like he went to the press conference and like first question was like whatever, and he's like F the Packers. Like that moment was caught obviously in a celebration moment. Obviously they've got the videos in there. And I also think it's like Joe, you've been in pro locker rooms before. Like I don't think anyone is here pretending that the 1980s Bears weren't saying F the Packers and that the Packers weren't saying F the Bears. Sure. I think now you just have more access than you ever have before, right? So right. I just think, I don't think it's that big of a deal. He won the game. He won 2 out of 3 games. I just don't. I just think it's one of those situations where it's just kind of like, all right, cool. He said that. Like for years, like Aaron Rodgers has been saying, I own the Bears. And he was right to say that. He was right to yell to the stands, 100%. To the fans, I effing own you guys. Because he did. He did own the Bears. Like, so I don't have a problem with Ben saying that. I think the whole critiques of him being like acting like for years, I've heard Bears fans complain about Matt Eberflus and Matt Nagy, John Fox. It's also dry. Like, what are we doing? Like, we need some character. The Bears have a coach who has character now. I heard so many people who are like, give me John Harbaugh. Like, Harbaugh's going to do all these different things. You've got a coach who does the Harbaugh. Like, no one can do the Harbaughisms. Like, only Harbaughs can really do the Harbaughisms. But you've got the guy who's going to say the fiery stuff, and he's going to win at the same time. So I didn't have a problem with it. I'm glad. Listen, that's just who Ben is. Does it lie flat if you go 0-3 against them next year, or you lose both your games? Sure, I think the Packers have more heated stuff to talk about, but it didn't bother me. I don't know. This is what rivalries are supposed to be like. This is why people get into sports. Obviously, as long as it's not malicious or anything like that. And like, obviously, if you're not like actually threatening anyone, like I'm fine with it. Like, this is what rivalries are for. This is what sports is for.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish it wasn't a story. Like, it doesn't have to be top storylines going into Bears Packers next season. It doesn't, but he's making it a story by doing that stuff. Like, I'd rather just focus on figuring out a way to, get to the quarterback next season, whether it's a D tackle, a D end addition. Focus on beating the Packers. That's it. Mike Ditka, there was no more fiery coach probably in Bears history, right, than Mike Ditka. And we've all seen his sound bites. There's no F-bomb dropping in there unless I'm missing something obvious.
If there were videos around back then, there would definitely be a lot of F-bombs out there.
But the Ditka quotes that you hear, like, that's your IQ, buddy, and Ditketh, when he was mocking a fan and stuff. He used to have it out with Red Motlow, the old radio legend in Chicago, on occasion. And there was no F-bomb dropping then. And it's a different world. I get swearing. It's more accepted today, for better or worse. But I think Ben should just look, man. You're it. You are the it coach in Chicago. So just act like a pro. That's all. You're an adult, and you're good at your job, and you're smart, and we're seeing it. And we want to see a Super Bowl come to Chicago under your direction. And it's all there. It's all there. We are on the right path in Chicago. Doesn't mean it's going to happen this year, next year, in the next 5 years. But you got to like what this franchise is. And I just like, let's stop the Neanderthal, beat the Packers. That's all that matters stuff. I would just go beat them, because they've been better than you for a long time. And we already see what one playoff victory can do to this fan base as far as enjoying this moment this week. I want to see this continue. I don't want this to be a one and done 1 year fluke, kind of like what 2018, the Cody Parkey double, was that 2018? I don't want it to be that. I want it to be like any Bears fan, like you, Michael, right? Let's sustain success. Let's have this for 10 years and be classy and win a championship, maybe 2, maybe 3. Let's hope for that. and focus on that.
Robert chiming in. Ben Johnson has hate from the Packers from his Lions days. Come on, guys. He's making this rivalry mean something again. He's a fan favorite coach for a reason. He's good, he's passionate, and he's real. And I think the biggest thing is, not to keep harping on this because we have other stuff to talk about, but quite honestly, like, this seems like everyone wants to talk about it. So obviously we have to talk about it. But I understand where you're coming from. I just think that the context of where this took place, like, Ditka would say all that kind of stuff, like the IQ stuff, but like he would say that like in the press conference. Ben didn't come out of his press conference saying F the Packers. Like the reporters asked him all these questions about it. He said F the Packers in the context of the emotions of which is also kind of funny. You kind of go from the team prayer, you're kneeling, and then you get up. I've always found all these videos I've always found so funny. Like you just go from the team prayer, and then Ben Johnson just goes, hell yeah, every single time. And just like, it's funny that they include the team prayer every single time at the beginning of these videos. But that's neither the point of what I'm trying to make. All I'm trying to say is he didn't make the comments like after the press conference or today. Like he didn't come out and say after the pack. Like he said it in the context of inside the locker room with all of his players and that kind of stuff. And I do think, like, I'm not going to whatever, but I do think that if in 1985 or the 80s, you had cameras in the locker room like you do now, I guarantee you that someone is saying F the Packers at some point. And I don't, and I think there's a difference between, you know, you could be a jerk and in your press conference for no apparent reason say F the Packers like that. You could do that. Ben didn't do that. Ben said it in the context of, the context of an emotional win and that sort of stuff. And, you know, maybe after he didn't say this, and he didn't take it back, but maybe after the game, he was like, or after that came out, he was like, well, to the social media team, well, maybe we didn't have to include that part in it or whatever. But I don't know. He's not going to throw anyone under the bus, and I don't think he regrets saying what he did. He doesn't do that. But yeah, it didn't bother me. Obviously, if they go losing and he goes on this whole demonstrative thing, that it can be a problem and that kind of stuff. For me, it's just kind of like one of those situations where it's just kind of like the fan base loves it. Ben's playing up to it. That's kind of what you need, right? Like, and I think the biggest thing is going back to your point, Joe, where it's like Ben isn't just saying we beat the Packers, that was our Super Bowl, we're done, right? Like he knows he's on to the Rams now. Like he enjoyed the victory, he's good, but now he's dedicated to make sure that this team gets ready as much as possible to play the Rams, which I think is kind of what you're looking for here.
Yeah. And final thought from me on this. It's just that we don't need the F the Packers bit to bring back the rivalry. The rivalry happened this year. Why? Because the Bears were competitive. 3 games, you can say they got lucky in all 3, fine. They were competitive. All 3 games were. That's what makes the rivalry. Not getting your ass kicked. There goes my language. There goes getting your butt kicked by Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers or David Whitehurst or Lynn Dickey or Bart Starr or Don Mikowski. That's why it doesn't become a rivalry, because you're getting your butt kicked every year, normally twice a year. So the rivalry is back because the Bears are a competitive football team. And if for some reason, there's no reason to suggest this will happen, if the Packers start suddenly stinking the next 5 years, it won't be a rivalry again, because now they're not holding up their end of the bargain. But I hope it's this way, because as stressful as they are, you want to throw something, then you want to hug someone the next second. That's what it's all about. And that's when it's really a great rivalry, whether it's Bears, Packers, or pick your rivalry in any sport, or including this league.
Yeah, and listen, like they say, talk is cheap, right? Like if you don't have the performances out there, it doesn't really matter what you say. I mean, you saw what happened with the Packers. They talked all last week, and then, where do they kind of get them? But it is fun to have the rivalry back here with the context, obviously, of if you don't win, it doesn't really matter what you say, right? Like it's fun and whatever. Like if you don't, but like, and it's just fun. I feel like we've went from years where you've gone from where so many fans were upset. I feel like when was that, like a couple years ago, when Matty Reflus was with Matt LaFleur watching a basketball game and Marquette courtside together. I thought that was a little dramatic too, to go super crazy about that. Like, what do you want them to do? Like fight each other? Like I don't get into that full stuff, but it is fun that the rivalry's back, and it's fun that it has an intensity where both teams are actually, it seems like, competitive for the years to come, instead of it being like one team is the hammer, one team is the nail. So that'll be fun. And we somehow got 24 minutes of that conversation in. So we'll see how much this plan for doing a half-hour podcast is really gonna go into fruition here. All right, Joe. Other stuff that Ben talked about today. He talked about Caleb's performance, and I think if you look at the numbers, and I kind of made it a point in my story today, where you kind of look at the numbers, and he throws 2 interceptions in the first 3 quarters. He threw for 184 yards in the fourth quarter. That's more than he threw in the first 3 quarters. But Ben said that he felt that Caleb actually had a pretty good game the whole game. And when you kind of think about it and you kind of look at the thing, you kind of look at it, I feel like the mistakes that kind of happened in those first 3 quarters, yeah, I think Caleb missed on a couple of those throws, obviously, but the fourth down play to Luther Burden, it seems like, ran the wrong route. Ben didn't want to throw him under the bus, but he wasn't too happy about that play. The other interception on fourth down, Drew Dalman just kind of stumbles back, and Caleb doesn't really have a chance to do anything with it. So the interception is just kind of like, all right, it would have been like 5 yards that way anyway. So it does seem like, obviously we like to look at the heroics of the whole thing, but if you kind of look at it, and I had a chance to kind of look at it more, the whole package for Caleb wasn't as bad as it might have seemed the first 3 quarters there.
There were some drops too. You mentioned
there were Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet did have a couple of drops, and DJ Moore had a big drop there too.
And the 2 interceptions you mentioned, one looked like Luther there had to be some miscommunication there. Caleb was upset, right? He doesn't want to throw Luther under the bus, but it was clearly was something Luther did. And that doesn't take anything away how I feel about Luther Bird. I'd still throw the ball to him as much as I could.
Sure.
And then the other one where DJ fell and it was kind of panic, and then it's like almost like a busted play at that point. And then the interception, again, the guy's better off just whacking it to the ground, but so be it. But you look at the overall numbers again, they were very kind of Caleb-ish, what we've seen all year. The completion percentage, I know we talked so much about that, more than I ever thought we would do this year. It was still bad. It was 50%, not good. But the one thing about Caleb, it's like, I use a lot of golf analogies. It's like the golfer who forgets the bad shot, and then the next one, he's onto it. It's already behind him. I mean, it's just speaking as a weekend athlete. I don't know about you, Michael, but that's hard to do. Not everyone can do that.
Oh no, I get pretty annoyed after a few bad shots. I'm one of those guys who kind of sulks and ruins a couple holes because of it.
And Caleb doesn't have that. It seems like he doesn't care. He doesn't seem like he laments. And there are pros who lament. It's not just like, well, they're all professionals. None of them do it. Yes, they do. They do. They do lament. You see it. You see it in the league. You see it every Sunday, for crying out loud. But Caleb doesn't have that. That's nice to have. That's nice that you can do that you can perform when you feel like the weight of the stadium is on your shoulders, and you can still perform at a high level. Gosh, that bodes well for him, because as we've talked many times before, Michael, like he's got the hard part. He's got the hard part. So you would hope the other stuff is fixable. Not that he's going to be throwing completing 70% of his passes next season, but I certainly would expect that percentage to increase, easier throws. So yeah, I mean, I'd rather have him and quarterbacking the Bears than any other guy on the roster. No offense to Tyson Bagent, but that's where he's at. So it wasn't a perfect game, but when you can hit back-to-back 3-run homers late in the game, I'll take that from my guy.
Yeah, and I think just thinking about it and looking at it more, he wasn't it doesn't seem like he was really the reason why you were trailing, right? Like obviously it comes down to the quarterback to make the throws and make sure everyone's on this. Like, obviously the quarterback gets all the praise and all the blame, right? Like, that's just the life of a quarterback. But looking back at it and kind of looking at some film and some tape, it did seem that it was just a lot of like weird things, bad snaps, tipped passes, miscommunication, all that kind of stuff. So Maybe the numbers don't really do it justice for what was going on in the first three quarters. Also wanted to hit on, I feel like we didn't talk about this too much yesterday, but looking at the TV copy of it, I feel like they caught Caleb a couple times, yelling at his teammates about, getting back or whatever. Ben was asked about it today. He said that he didn't have a problem with it. Sometimes, that kind of stuff just needs to be addressed. And, Drew Dahlman also said, like, he didn't really have a problem with it. I don't, me personally, I don't know. Like, obviously, if you're not being a jerk about it, but in the heat of the moment, I mean, that just kind of happens, right? Like, I don't think that necessarily means that you're a bad guy or a bad teammate, but sometimes it's on the quarterback to make sure, hey, I don't know exactly who he was yelling at the moment, but if there's miscommunication and it costs you on third or fourth down, it's on the quarterback to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And sometimes you're a little fiery in those situations. So no one really seemed to have a problem with it. And I think we touched on this a little bit yesterday, but I don't think you had too much of a problem about it either.
No, I didn't really. I mean, first of all, as the quarterback and the presumed leader of the team, certainly the offense, you're entitled. You're entitled. And we've all seen the clip. I mean, what other great quarterbacks have yelled at teammates on the sideline? Brady, Peyton Manning, Mahomes, go down the list. They probably all have. So if they don't have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, he's just a competitive guy. We forget sometimes to think sometimes you get frustrated, not only with your teammates, you're frustrated with yourself. You're frustrated that we're losing.
Sure.
We're making mistakes. And if you can't, this game, it's like hockey. If you don't play with emotion, you're dead. You're dead. So I know it doesn't look pretty, right? But he's entitled. You're the quarterback, and it will fall on your shoulders if you win, if you lose. That's just, if you lose, they look at the quarterback. They don't look at the long snapper and say, "Mo, you stunk again today." It's the quarterback. So I like it. I like the fire and the passion of, like Coach Ditka. I like the fire and the passion of Caleb. And again, if it's like, if you'd never seen great quarterbacks do that before, you'd say, well, maybe that's not a good thing. He should be more gentleman-like and respect his teammate. Nah, go do it. Do what you have to do, because if you don't turn it around, your season's over here pretty quickly. So I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, let's not pretend like Tom Brady used to just chuck, tablets all over the place because he was, annoyed about a play or something like that. Like, I'm pretty sure that they had to add tablet covers because of Brady, because of how often he kept throwing them and probably kept breaking them because he was super annoyed about plays. Like, I don't know, in the heat of the moment, like, as long as you're not being like a jerk about it and making it personal, it's just like, who cares? Like, I would much rather have that as a fan of a team, as opposed to being a guy who's just kind of like doesn't care, right? Like, I don't know, that stuff doesn't really bother me, and it doesn't seem like it bothers anyone on the Bears either.
No, Travis Kelce's chewing out Andy Reid on the sideline. I know they, Travis has rings, and so does Andy Reid, but that's a bad look. And the Chiefs were like, they're fine. They're okay. They're just competitive, big men who want to win a football game. And I don't want to say they feel the pressure, but it gets revved up, and so I understand.
Also, something I also want to talk about that Ben addressed today. He talked about the aggressive, the Bears went for it 6 times on fourth down, converted twice about it. Ben said he was asked about, the aggressive coaching. Was that kind of the plan heading into things? And he said that that was kind of the plan. Like, everyone knew that they were going to be doing that. They're going to be aggressive on fourth down. He basically said it kind of came down to the Bears just trying to extend possessions, because the Bears didn't really possess the ball, as we talked about, on Friday, looking ahead to the game. Like, the time of possession over the past, I think it's like 3 or 4 games, has been like advanced. Like, the opponent has had the ball like 10 minutes more than the Bears offense has had. So Ben on today said that for Saturday, it was just a situation where he's just trying to extend plays because the Bears just haven't possessed the ball as much. So that was interesting. And he also said, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I'm kind of interested to see what your viewpoint of it. He said that it wasn't really, I think a lot of us thought, oh, that means he doesn't have confidence in the defense. And he actually said it kind of means the opposite, because he said that it actually shows that he has confidence that the defense can pick up a stop in the red zone, that he'd be willing to go for it from his own 32. I don't know how you felt about it, Joe. Obviously, he's not going to go out there and, run the bus over his defense by any means, but was just curious about your thoughts about, what he said about, why he was being so aggressive on fourth down.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hate to speak for him. You know him better than I do since you're at Hallis every day, but that seemed more like I almost felt like the game was getting away from you pretty quickly here. I know it was only 14-3, but it felt like we need to get going here. And look, this game could get away with it, could get away from us, and that's what it felt like me. Because if I've got a great defense, punt it to them. Stop them 3 and out. I'm expecting a 3 and out, and then we'll get it back, and we got time, and we're in this game. But all of a sudden, you saw what Jordan Love was doing in that first half, and then the lead did grow to 21-3, as we know. So that's my take, because I'm like, this is risky. This is an automatic 3 points that, it turned out to be 7, as we know, on that quick turnaround when they didn't convert from their own 32, whatever it was. But I just sense it was, we got to get some fairness. We got to get the offense out there, sustain drives, and get that score and make it 14-10 instead of like, it could get ugly. So I'm gonna bet everything I've got. I'm gonna bet it, and then we'll see. And they somehow, because they're the cardiac Bears this year, they survived in the end.
Yeah, and I think Ben Johnson's message pretty much today was if Bears fans have a problem with going for it on fourth down, they're just going to have to get used to it, because that just seems to be what Ben is going to do. Like, I don't know if he'll go for it from his own 20 or like his own 30 or anything like that. But I think if the ball is relatively like in midfield, this is just my assumption. I would say like 25 on. I think he's just going to go for it unless the momentum says something else. But he seems like he's just going to be aggressive on fourth down if he feels like the momentum, or if the analytics say that you should probably go for it.
Yeah, I just hope he's like, I don't want to see the arrogance here. Like, look, it's okay to say it was a bad call. I made a mistake there. I probably shouldn't have done that. That's okay to say that. That's when you're secure, right? When you feel like it's like, hey, man, in any job, right? You have. I screwed up, guys. Sorry. Won't, you don't have to say it won't happen again, because mistakes will happen again. But you don't act like it wasn't the right call. Sometimes it was just a bad call. I'm not saying he's done that. Has shown accountability at times for certain plays they run or things they didn't do. So, but just don't die on that hill, man. And because again, Ben Johnson knows a lot more about football than me. But sometimes you're just wrong, coach. And you just got to own that. That's all.
All right, Joe. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, Bears will end up playing the Rams on Sunday. We're still waiting to see what time that game is going to take place. It'll either be at 2 or 5:30. They'll see. I'm sure the TV channels are going to bid based on what happens in tonight's Steelers playoff game. But the Bears will play on Sunday either at 2 or 5:30. Based on, I have no inside information or anything like that. I would guess that's probably the 5:30 game. It seems like it'll be a 5:30 game. The Bears will play the Rams after the 49ers, like I said, beat the Eagles. So the Seahawks get the 49ers because they're the number 6 seed. So we get a little bit of a reseeding here. I know on the bracket it had Eagles and 49ers, and it seemed like the Bears would play that team, but that's the reason why the Bears end up with the Rams there. Joe, obviously on the initial look, you're just kind of like, oh shoot. You got Matthew Stafford, who's having himself an MVP season. You've got Sean McVay, who's probably one of, if not the best offensive play caller in the NFL right now. You've got 2 elite wide receivers, Puka Nacua, obviously. You've got Devontae Adams, who's had a Hall of Fame trajectory career, a defense that's really good. So what were your initial reactions when you saw that it's going to be the Rams?
Well, it's funny because you think you're done with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers and all that history. Here comes Devontae Adams because he is, even though he didn't have the year statistically, Puka Nacua's numbers were silly, just silly. He's great. Nacua. Devontae Adams is still great. He will be in Canton, as you alluded to, Michael, when his playing days are over. They're loaded. But you know what? I'm trying to think, what's the good news for the Bears? Let me think. Well, they have to come out here. They have to come to Chicago. No California pretty boys allowed at Soldier Field, man. Let's go. Not that it's going to be blizzard. No player likes to play when it's 10 degrees and it's snowing and the winds are whipping. I can't believe that. But, they're used to playing in nice weather. They got to come here at Chicago. It's just been a crazy Bears year. And I'm sure many fans, went back in the time machine and thought, 40 years ago at Soldier Field, Dieter Brock. Gosh, it's hard to believe you weren't even alive then, Michael, because I remember it like it was last week.
I was 10 years from being alive.
Crazy. But so there's all this mystique. And if it's, that's what you kind of have to, at this point, it's like, it's out of your control. I mean, you're like, it almost feels like that. It's like, you know what? Destiny will be destiny here. They're not expected to win. They weren't the better team in the regular season. Few teams were better than the Rams. They're loaded. You mentioned Stafford having an MVP season, all the weapons they have. The one thing, though, they're like the Bears. I mean, they're not very good defensively. So, again, I don't think it's going to be a 10-9 game here on a Cairo Santos 52-yarder into the wind to win it. We'll talk more about it later in the week, but it certainly has all the earmarks of a shootout at Soldier Field and a fun football game. And again, as a fan, I mean, you don't want them to ever lose, right? Every year you want your team to go undefeated. But you beat the Packers, you got a playoff win. And if they lose, it's not like this season ended lousy. It was a lousy ending to the season. We won't be saying that.
Yeah, and obviously we'll get more into that on Friday. But my initial thoughts was this has the potential to be a repeat of Week 17. You've got two brilliant offensive minds going against each other, and it feels like one of those games. And, obviously playing in Santa Clara under beautiful skies and 50 degrees is a little bit different than playing in Chicago in 10-degree weather, But my initial thought was, man, this could be, obviously they don't go against each other. Like the quarterbacks technically don't go against each other. The offensive minds don't go against each other. But you saw what it was kind of like between Ben Johnson and Kyle Shanahan in that Week 17 matchup. It was just like tit for tat, like every single time. It was like Kyle Shanahan designed this play. All right, Ben's going to do this play. And then Shanahan did it again. And that's kind of how I kind of feel like this. It's just, do the Bears have enough, I guess, bullets to keep up in a shootout like that against the team? Like, listen, they did it against the 49ers, but man, that 49ers offense is just so good. And there are so many playmakers where it's just kind of like one of those situations where you're kind of like, all right, it'd be fun to see a shootout, but I don't know if we can keep up in a shootout if you're a Bears fan, right?
No, but it'll be fun. They might just tell both punchers to stay home Sunday because I mean, if the Bears have 4th and 10 from their 5, they're probably going for it. I mean, it's just going to be that kind of day. And, like every possession is going to be crucial. Like if you feel like if you have to punt at any point in the game, you're going to be thinking, oh boy, let's see if we can get away with this. Cause it should be a fun football game. And I don't think it's going to be 5 degrees. I think early forecast, it's 6 days away still. But I think it's going to be like similar weather, like low 30s maybe. We'll see.
No, it's supposed to be a high of 12.
Is it Sunday?
Yeah.
This dang newspaper I read. I thought it was going to be like now, like in the 30s, like comfortable. But it's going to be 5.
It's like a high of 12 on Sunday last time I looked.
Dang. All right. That is a game changer. Right? I mean, for both teams.
Yeah, I will say the forecast I'm looking at right now says high of 16 and 38% chance of snow. Weather on the go. Welcome weather on the go. I didn't know we had a weather guy here. High of 13, wind chill 0 to 5 degrees at game time.
But what about the winds? Where's our weather?
Yeah, well, weather on the go. Let us know what the winds are going to be like. But I will say, Ben pointed this out because he was obviously, for how much you don't want to make a big deal out of it, it is a thing. I mean, like I looked at the forecast in Los Angeles this week, and it's supposed to be, and I got really mad when I first looked at it. It's supposed to be like low 80s, high 70s, and sunny every single day. And I'm like, why did my parents decide to live here? Why did I decide to stay here? But it also does play up like, listen, the stat that I know always goes around when it comes to like NFL betting is teams that go into Miami, like northern teams that go into Miami in November and December, there is a sizable evidence that teams lose in those types of games. Obviously, there's much more humidity in Miami than there is in Los Angeles, so the humidity isn't as much of a factor. And I know that this is vice versa. You're not going from cold to warm. You're going from warm to cold. But still, that will play a factor. But Ben was asked about that, and he did make the point that, Matthew Stafford does pretty well in cold weather games. Like, he played in Detroit, so he's used to playing in Chicago. He's used to playing in Green Bay and that sort of stuff. So we'll see how much of a factor that's going to be. But it's obviously going to be a factor. How much of a factor is it? Like, the Rams still have a great running attack if they can't throw the ball. So it is just trying to find any sort of solution to stop this Sean McVay offense.
Yeah, no. That said, they are, when you're, that's like every time I look at stats around the league, and then it's like, yeah, okay, look at the punter stats. Yeah, but he plays in a dome, like he kicks in a dome every week. Look at these guys who play out west. It's easier to play football when it's 70 degrees and sunny, right?
For sure.
So, it's like with sports writers, editors will say, I don't want to hear any weather leads in your game story tonight. So, yeah, I get it. But to dismiss that weather is not a factor in football games is just being ignorant. I mean, it's a factor. So if it's 5 degrees and you want to say, I treat it like another football game, I'm sorry, it's not. It will matter, and it will affect both teams. Again, it's not like all the guys in the Bears are, 2 guys are from Palatine, 3 guys grew up in Cicero, 2 guys grew up on the south side. None of them are from here, except for, TJ Edwards from Lake Villa, but he's not playing in the game because he's hurt. So, but the Bears, to me, that the weather will be an advantage. I'm not saying it's a 10-point swing, but it's an advantage.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely an advantage. Listen, it'd be crazy to say it's not an advantage. If you're going from 80 degrees every single day, like, there is quite literally your blood, like, what is it? Your blood thins out right when you're in warmer temperatures. So obviously if you go into a cold temperature, you're going to get colder. That's just science. It's just how things work. That's the most scientific thing I'll probably ever say on this podcast. But and it was probably wrong. Well, someone's going to comment on it and say, actually, it's the opposite. So, but it will play a factor in it. Obviously, it is going to make some sort of factor, but is it going to be enough to help everyone stop Puka Nacua and, Adams and stop Stafford? We'll obviously see that a little bit later here. But that's everything that we've got for this Monday afternoon podcast. Thank you to everyone who joined us a little bit later here. You guys got back-to-back days of the Bears Insider podcast. So thanks so much to everyone who joined us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and like us. Appreciate all your support there. Thank you to all the support we got on Facebook as well. I see a lot of likes and loves. Appreciate it there as well. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, make sure you subscribe and give us a nice rating there as well. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much for joining us on the podcast as well. All right. That is everything we've got for this afternoon. We will talk to you folks on Friday morning. We will have a kickoff time at that point, and we will do a much in-depth prediction of what's going to happen in Sunday's game between the Rams and the Bears. Make sure you're keeping up with my work at Dwojak94 for all the latest from Halasol. Everyone have a good rest of your week, and we will talk to you folks on Friday morning.